joining us for Thursday's talk. We're today with Elena Kell, Ambassador of Women in AI in Sweden, and Alessandra Sala, Head of Analytic Research at Nokia Bell Labs and Ambassador of Women in AI in Ireland. Thank you, Elena and Alessandra. It's an honor to receive you to talk about the gender gap in artificial intelligence. You're both inspiring women working on the AI field and invested in closing these gender gaps through Women in AI that counts more than 4,000 members all across the world. In a word, Women in AI is a non-profit think tank whose mission is to increase female representation and participation in AI. At AI for Tomorrow, it's a mission we're very committed to, and we're glad to collaborate with you. That is one of your dearest partners. Quentin, maybe?
Yeah, just in a few words to remind all of you viewers what AI Tomorrow is. It's a challenge in two different phases that aims to build projects, impact projects with AI for the world of tomorrow. It consists in a first ideation phase where we hold a lot of conferences and think about the use cases that we could find to help the world of tomorrow with AI. And then a challenge where young people are helped and supported by professionals and resources to build their projects and make it a reality. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll leave the floor to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So today we're going to talk about women in AI, gender gap in artificial intelligence. Why are we doing that? And how are we doing that? So very briefly about myself, I work as responsible AI specialist at H&M Group, and I'm an ambassador of Women in AI in Sweden. Alessandra?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alessandra Sala. I work for Nokia Bell Labs as Head of Analytics Research, and I'm the Women in AI Ambassador in Ireland.
Great. So really good meeting you all. So I think by now we all understand that AI is the extension of its creator and it's shaping tomorrow's society. So it is a powerful technology, yet it's not very mature yet. And at the same time, only 22% of AI professionals globally are female, which is, of course, a huge underrepresentation. So Women in AI, as you mentioned, Camille, is a nonprofit working towards gender-inclusive artificial intelligence that benefits global society. So we are on a mission to increase female representation and participation in the field. And we provide the global platform for all people who are supporting our mission, men, women, non-binary, to join us in helping that happen. And together we're building this community with our members. So this is our founding team. So it has been founded a couple of years ago by Mushan Ashkari, Hanan Salam, and Caroline. So Hanan, maybe some of you recognize, she's an associate professor in artificial intelligence. And Mushan is working with partnerships and also very involved in the startup ecosystem. And Caroline is currently starting her own adventure called Good AI Company. So at the core, our community is the first global community for women and by women professionals and experts in AI. We are more than 3,500 members in over 100 countries, and we have approximately 30 ambassadors driving our chapters internationally. And our core values really revolve around the following topics. So it is support, it is sharing, caring, empowering, and enabling. And all of our strategies and activities and task forces are really made to support these values and are structured around them. So in very short, we have several sort of ways we're driving this community. So community is at the core, but we also arrange a lot of events internationally in all of our countries. We do develop and provide a lot of educational initiatives in different countries to engage more women and young girls to get into this field, especially at the stage when they're choosing their education, their career path. And we also are involved in research initiatives, and one of them we're actually going to talk a little bit more about today. And these are some examples of the initiatives that we have been involved both in the EU level and in different panels and conferences, really highlighting the importance of bringing more women into this field. And this is our community with over 2,000 active members. So we'll provide the link later. So anyone who's interested to support our mission, really welcome to join the conversation. So, and looking a little bit back, and why are we doing that? So why is this so important? So having underrepresentation of women. Alessandra, would you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, Elena. Thank you for your introduction. It's so inspiring. I'm sure we'll have so many questions after your introduction on women in AI. And let me remind everyone that there is a Q&A chat that anyone can use to bring us questions. So as Elena said, the important thing is always to understand why we are doing what we are doing. And also, you can go next. We need to understand that we are not perfect human yet. Research has identified more than 180 human biases. And those human biases are those that affect our decision. So if we affect our decision based on some human bias, then we need to ask which are the consequences. So we have, Elena, next. Here, showing you some of the human bias, for example, in-group acceptance. We are always more prone to accept the same idea of our own circle of friends versus accepting ideas that are outside our own groups. And those do affect our leaders, our technologies do take decisions. And as we know that we are not perfect, let's now look at the numbers. What are those numbers telling us? As Elena said before, 22% of female representation as director in UK from this report didn't change for the last 2 decades. Same number apply everywhere in the world. And there has been a little bit of improvement from Latin American and Black in the last 5 years, from 1% to 3%. Actually, those numbers are quite shocking. And then if we look at what has happened in technology, we have changed 270% of our AI technology has been introduced in new product, in new services. So while we are imperfect human, we have a very limited representation of the diversity of our society. We are transforming technology, we are transforming the product in a way that may not be controlled and is not accounting for our own biases. So what's the result of this? There are some unintended consequences. So people have heard in the news that AI-based recruiting technology has been promoting higher level director or VP jobs to white men versus of female or female minorities. Face recognition, an amazing technology that can enable us to automate so many mundane tasks in our life. However, it doesn't work well for everyone, even if in general, it's a very accurate technology. For minorities, it doesn't work at all. And in the way we detect gender traits from language, the way we express each other, the way we communicate with each other, it's very much imprinted in the language that we use. And if job posts are written for men are possibly directed to men, if articles are written for men are possibly directed to that specific audience. It's not for everyone. It doesn't resonate with me. So how are we accounting of the diverse society and speaking to everyone? So sometimes things happen in life. Society has been observing inequality in different shades and forms. And then something happens, and there is a pivotal moment where citizens do not accept the status quo anymore. And next, in this moment, even the big companies are getting behind, are not continuing their multi-billion industry. Amazon, IBM, Microsoft have stopped their face recognition tech that they sold to law enforcement and police department because they have recognized that in research, we have demonstrated biased results around this technology, that privacy needs further consideration, that what different governments are telling us, it's meaningful and different opinion needs to be taken into account before you bring technology to market, mainly when this technology has a direct impact on human and their possibilities. So fortunately, big organization, civil society, private sector, they have all come to realization that it's important to understand the ethical principle behind artificial intelligence. More than 36 different documents have been written on ethical AI and how different organizations, different government, different stakeholders are thinking about AI and how are they thinking to allow AI technologies within different geographies. So if we look about behind the principle, we can see some important trends. So AI technology needs to account for privacy, accountability, safety and security towards people and how this technology is used, transparency. We want to understand how those decisions are taken. Importantly, to reconnect to what we have said before, fairness and non-discrimination, which intrinsically connect to our human bias and how we can use technology to eliminate or to alleviate those human biases. Human control of technology, professional responsibility, and finally, promotion of human value. So, to conclude, we know that AI can bring this society to a different level in terms of business, in terms of economy, tackling some social challenges, including those that impact human biases. However, this technology needs to be trust from the user who will accept those decisions or those suggestions or those recommendations. And AI can help human with bias. And we are working together to tackle those bias in AI.
Thank you so much, Alessandra, for this great deep dive in this. And to continue that, I would like to share one example of the project that we in Women in AI Globally are currently involved in. And this is a little bit taking the other side, the look on the other side of the coin. So I will talk a little bit about how we can explore different AI applications to reduce gender inequality. So this is an initiative that is jointly performed by us in Women in AI and Swedish innovation agency called Vinnova. So what we have, the purpose of this initiative is that the Vinnova organization recognizes that there is a need to put more effort into resources in examining and understanding how AI can actually become a driver to increase gender equality rather than counteract that. So we already know how much is happening on and how can it be counteracted, but we want to look on the other side and explore something that hasn't been explored before. And from Women in AI community and network, we provide access to our key expert, to really global perspective and exposure on this topic, helping collecting the knowledge and insights on that. So this is really just creating a starting point, not only for Swedish Innovation Agency who initiated that, but also for other actors in Europe and beyond to really support and strengthening the application of AI in this field. And I think important to notice that this initiative does not specifically focus on underrepresentation, which is our core work, of course, in Women in AI, but it does focus on rather explicitly exploring the new and possible applications of AI within the framework of identified gender equality issues. And I will now talk a little bit more about the gender equality issues that have been formulated from UN and EU perspective. And this is something also, when we think about innovation, and the most fun part with innovation, of course, is finding the problem that is worth solving, right? So this is a great opportunity to understand those problems a little bit more. So the first inequality area that we're looking at is gender-related pay difference. So we know that there is a gender pay gap. In the EU, it's about 16%. And while the differences in pay occur because of different factors, we want to understand what kind of AI applications can help with that. So what can be done to reduce inequality in this area? Gender-based violence, gender-related violence. So this is, of course, one of the highest priorities. And this is one of the biggest violations of the human rights. And the statistics is horrifying, of course, as you can see, based on data from 87 countries, 1 in 5 women and girls under the age of 50 will experience that. So what can AI do about that? What kind of initiatives and applications could be explored and initiated in this field? And I think also a very important lens that we're seeing now in the COVID time, especially on this one, that this actually becomes much worse. So the gender-based violence is really accelerating at the moment when people are really locked down in their homes. Unpaid work, that's a very interesting one. So women do perform much more unpaid care and housework than men. It leads to lower incomes for women and also less time for women to participate in other activities than their work or something that is building their network or advancing in their career. The next one is uneven funding for entrepreneurs. I think if you look at different statistics in different countries, it varies. So about 4% is actually rather positive because the numbers that I've seen is around 1% of VC goes to companies founded by women. And just think about it for a second, how horrifying that is. I mean, we have so many amazing women entrepreneurs really trying to solve super hard problems, and it's a challenge to get funding. It's a challenge to get into this stage. And there are different theories and sort of ways of approaching that to understand why. And last but not least is gender-related health. So, of course, developments in health, but also what are conditions, care conditions and health conditions looking like for women, it's very unequal. And with those areas in mind, in this project, we are also tasked by exploring other areas. So where do we see possibilities of AI applications contributing to solving those? And one of the examples is leadership, for example. We look at this at the moment and see what is the problematics there and how can AI contribute. And the key aspects of this consultation of the work that we're doing and then we'll be delivering to Vinnova is really understand which areas AI can contribute to increase gender equality in. What are the barriers to AI being applied to gender equality in this area? So what are the gaps? What is missing? What could be the enablers for that? Third one is which actors should collaborate in such process. So what we're doing is we actually bringing together experts in gender studies with AI experts and let them have this dialogue, because maybe that's not necessarily happening at the moment. And in the end, we are collecting good examples that could be organized and mapped into bigger frameworks such as sustainability development goals to really give this inspiration and basically like a great starting point for everyone who wants to solve one of those problems with artificial intelligence. And just very briefly, how are we doing that? So we have started with doing online research, understanding the landscape of all of those areas. We have been interviewing experts in different countries, and we have been arranging local workshops. So local experts, both in gender studies and AI, coming together in different countries to discuss those questions. And we have had those already in Ireland, Australia and Mexico, and US and either Netherlands or France and Switzerland are to come in the upcoming month. And then we will bring those experts participating and contributing with their knowledge together for a global workshop where we will take another iteration on the findings that we have locally. So having that collected insights, we want to see how much more deeper can we go? How can we create more actionable points to take it to the next level and to proceed with that? And once we deliver this report to Vinnova saying this is what we found, this is our recommendations, then we can really start sharing it with others and promote this area and also explore what else can we do? What kind of actions can we trigger both in Sweden and locally, and how can we progress in this? Right, so now I leave over to Alessandra, who will tell a little bit more how it actually went in Ireland.
Thank you, Elena. Yes, indeed, this rest of the presentation is to show you that something really is happening and giving you some example of what we are doing and how we are thinking of creating this platform for innovation to solve those important issues. So we brought together 12 experts with different backgrounds. So talking again to the importance of diverse perspective, we had 2 professors in information and communication, 2 professors in computer science, a professor in gender study. But then we combine those with people coming from cultural theories and media studies, responsible AI, and legal expert, a legal director, a lawyer, head of analytics, data governance, and data protection consultant, just to give you an idea of the diversity of interest, background, and mission that those people have, but all fundamentally interested how AI can help us to solve human biases and apply them to those important problems. Next, just to remind you what we had discussed, uneven funding from entrepreneurs, so very concrete use cases, gender pay gap, unpaid work, and female violence. So how did we organize our workshop? It was a dynamic workshop with many ideas that we collect. We did breakout session. People couldn't stop talking. It was very difficult to keep people on time. Those topics gets people so animated. And then the real work was after the workshop to collect all those ideas, all those insights, people really willing to contribute. And the way we are organizing the outcome, it's in two parts. The first part is really to address which are the cultural driver, which are the societal aspect that we are used to, that are contributing to those issues, which are the policy opportunity. So really looking at our society as it is today and why we take the decision that we take. And then the other part of our outcome was really focused on, now that we understand the issue, we understand from where is coming from this issue, how can we use AI for assessment? Can we use AI technology to validate our hypothesis, to find data that demonstrates those trends and also the root cause of those trends? So once people are aware, it's much easier to act upon it. Because as Elena said before, many times those issues have not been discussed. People with different backgrounds haven't come together to address the issue. So this is the first step towards a long journey. The second part, it's really once you have the evidence, once you understand which are the cultural driver for those, which technology, which AI technology can we tap into to help us to unveil and create intervention to solve those problems. So really the use of AI within a specific use case to solve a real problem. Next. So here I wanted to share with you some takeaway. As I mentioned before, the session was highly dynamic, people extremely engaged. So I'm not giving justice to all the ideas that have been shared, but yet I wanted to share with you a couple of takeaway messages. So there has been quite a bit of discussion around this idea. What's the stereotype of a successful funder? Is this an illusion or is it reality? Because we do have data that demonstrate that female entrepreneurs are very successful. However, in the perception of those that can invest, sometimes it doesn't that figure, it doesn't resonate with a successful entrepreneur. So we were suggesting approaches to audit the system to unveil those gender inequalities. Another problem is women that are in strong leadership positions sometimes are tough as women, but they are not likable. And when a woman is not likable, stop that person, right? So stop self-promoting. It's because self-promoting, it's good if it comes from a man because he's empowered, he's powerful. If it comes from a woman, it's that one, it's not likable. So how can we change the narrative? How can we enable strong women to be themselves and to achieve exactly the same performance as their colleagues men? One important problem that speaks towards the cultural drivers that we have discussed before. It's that historically, all the jobs that have been dominated from women have become less valuable from a pay perspective and from a societal perspective. So this is also, and today, everything we have experienced with COVID, all those industries that had to continue to perform are highly dominated from women caring, women support. So we need to rethink the rule that we give to these jobs and the expectation that we have on this job, because when everything stops, there are very few things that stand. And if women are behind those jobs, we need to recognize the value that they bring to our society. Unequal division of domestic job. Thank you, Elena. She talked a little bit about this before. Not only domestic job. Let's remember community job, and let's remember volunteering job. A lot of time that if I'm doing those things that are great rewards for me, but I'm not investing in promoting my professional network or upskilling on project management or leadership, right? So it's the balance of time. And then I wanted to mention the final one, because sometimes we think about problem with the wrong perspective. Female violence, for example, has been always thought to support women after violence and not to create tech to stop abuser, which is really where we should have a much bigger impact. And with that, I want to stop. Thank you all for being with us, and pass it back to Elena.
Thank you so much for listening in and for letting us share what we've been working on. And we're really happy to answer some questions if there are some.
Thank you, Alessandra and Elena. It was really interesting to hear you. So maybe we can go back to one of the first aspects you talk about, like bias in AI. In 2017, Amazon had to stop the use of an AI solution the company had developed to sort its applicant resume. Indeed, they realized that women were lower rated by the solution because of the gender. This bias was linked to the fact that the artificial intelligence was trained on a dataset of Amazon employees who were mainly men. Can you tell us a bit more about the gender data gap and its consequences? And maybe do you have some other examples in mind to show our audience how recurrent this can be?
Very good. Yes, we had a slide at some point where we were highlighting some technology, and it speaks exactly to this problem of using data that are partially representing our society. So within specific industry, we have been performing hiring based on our human bias. That's why I've started saying everything starts with human bias. There are 180 human bias, and we have been behaving and taking decisions without even understanding which are the drivers of those decisions. And now we are building technology looking at the data that are the result of a society that has been developed without addressing those human biases. So if you take a pool of employers of a specific age range, white men, and then you're trying to predict the future successful employers, obviously your algorithm can only predict based on what it has seen. And that's one of the biggest limitations of AI. AI technology is tremendously powerful. However, is not able to predict things that it has never seen. So if it can classify, it can reproduce trends that are well represented in the data. But if the data set are only looking at a small portion of our society, obviously the other portion has been completely disregarded. And we have had example in face recognition, in the way we do recommendation and advertisement based on language. So this technology, these biases are percolating in many AI systems today. But it's a problem that can be fixed. Elena, also, I know that you have a very interesting take. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's you covered it really well. And I mean, just to add on the data sets, I mean, I think this is also something that I think came up in your workshop, Alessandro, and maybe in other countries, that there is a need for sort of more data sets that could support this problem, solving certain problems, right? And this is also something that I think we have been discussing a little bit. Can there be more open data regarding those areas, for example, or what can be done to move the needle in that direction?
Elena, and I completely agree with you. And there is also an opportunity to come up with the new model for assessment. So not only computer science or AI expert needs to be part of this new development of this technology, because we need to understand what sociologists really think, how policymakers are taking decision, and what kind of society they want to represent, and collect the right data and create the right metrics. So it's a long process that does require diversity of background and skills.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And if you think about it, once they were developing that, I mean, if they would have a diverse team working on that, they probably would have noticed that a bit earlier that, well, hey, none of the women are hitting our top 5 candidate list. Maybe something's wrong with that. So I definitely agree. It all comes down, of course, to a bigger extent to sort of who is a part of developing that.
Yes, totally, we agree. As you said earlier, only 22% of women actually work on the artificial intelligence, which means that it's mostly men that are supervising the artificial intelligence. But by doing this, it just conveys its own vision and understanding of the world. So I know that, for instance, in France, the Equality Laboratory created a pact for an egalitarian artificial intelligence between men and women, insisting on the data subject, also on the environment, the number and level of women working on the sector, and also specific actions of different actors. Therefore, according to you both, what can we do to have the most valuable impacts? I know it's a big question.
I can start. So first of all, our number was really speaking towards female in the leadership roles, but it applies even worse for female in technology roles and leadership. Then the number is really dramatically reduced. And what you have mentioned, if you have a group of people that are not diverse, and you are trying to create a technology that is for the good of everyone, is fair, and it gives equal possibility to everyone. Obviously, we are not considering some perspective, so we're missing out on something. So this speaks about the importance of having a diverse workforce. And it's not just about women, it's about Latin America, it's about the black men and black women. It's about diversity in general, diversity of religion, diversity of culture. So gender is only one aspect of this broader problem. And I love to hear that there are organizations and initiatives that have the mission and the goal to demonstrate that if you do the right thing from the beginning, then you do have different results. And I think we need to encourage more of those opportunities. AI for good, AI for tomorrow, like you guys. I mean, those are dramatically important. We need to speak up today because we are shaping the future with this technology. And we are in the right moment, at the right time, with the right audience. People are listening. Let's do the right thing.
And I just wanted to add to that actually our numbers really matched, Alessandra, because both are 22, and both your number 22 refers to business leadership position, but the one that I've showed earlier is actually for technology within this field, right? So, I mean, it's not getting better in any of those fields, which is of course a warning sign. But I think, and I really like that you mentioned this initiative, totally agree that we need to lift more of those and make them known and because this field, at least when it comes to responsible AI and how to do things in a responsible way, because this is what we're talking about also, is, to find ways and best practices that companies could adopt. And I think one sort of trend that I'm seeing is it is definitely harder to recruit women because there are fewer of them in that technical field. But other ways that companies can engage different groups of people in the development of their product. So again, thinking a little bit about innovation and how can we do things in new ways, having those limitations, how can we still include the groups that are underrepresented? And that also to add, with the groups that you've mentioned, it's, for example, people with disabilities. This is also something that, the group of people that is excluded from development of products, AI products that are, helping us navigate on the streets and potentially self-driving cars and so on. So this is all things that we have to kind of come together to explore and then share those best practices with each other.
It's really interesting because one of our challenge, let's say, that is part of AI tomorrow, is that some teams will have to create AI-powered solutions to solve big challenges such as inequalities. So for it, it's a really important matter. And we also have an ethic chart. Maybe, Quentin, if you can continue with all the questions.
Yeah. And first of all, thanks a lot, because I think we hear a lot about the numbers and the statement you put in your presentation and you talked about, but I think we never hear enough, and they are horrifying. So I hope we will get projects on these challenges and maybe more or other explorations, as you mentioned. But also, you also mentioned it, a very big and important step is to have diverse teams. And it's one of the criteria we will have to evaluate the projects that go into the challenge. Actually, the three pillars of the project will be team, AI, and also the impact it should have. And well, the team must be diverse. But it's easy to say and to put this criteria in place, but the hardest part is to get that team diverse, and to do that matchmaking, to find the right people, and well, today, to be very concrete, we have like 100 participants and more getting into a Slack channel and speaking to each other. Still mostly men, but I think we get better numbers than the one we stated before. How would you suggest the teams, the participants, to build those most diverse teams, and to do that matchmaking in the right way? What would be your advice to the candidates and the teams?
You're muted.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and difficult question. There is a beautiful book called Superintelligence, written from this professor from MIT, Michael Malone, if I remember correctly, based on years and years of studies on how group of people perform, what's the right mix, how diversity helps, how the human connection helps, how people that on paper are not the best team to succeed, but then at the end they do succeed because they find a human connection, versus the high-skilled group of people that are so deeply focused on their technical greatness that are not able to collaborate in the right way. Therefore, they don't achieve the same performance. So it's important to understand how to build diverse team. It's non-trivial, and you can have very different performance. However, it's important because when you succeed, then the result bring to super intelligence, things that no human being could have achieved alone. So I always say that we focus on the wrong problem. So we look at the number and we say, we don't have enough female candidates. We need to look for more female candidates. What have we done to create more female candidates? Because if we don't create, they won't just appear from nowhere, right? So what's the single initiative that if every organization could take one single action to create a pipeline, to go back to high school, to go back to secondary school, to inspire the new generation? Don't try to fix the problem today. You need to create in 5 years the right pipeline. Everyone is only focused today. I need to prove that I'm hiring enough women in my team. Okay. No one is thinking, how am I going to make sure that in 3 years I'll have all my right candidates? And that's where we are missing today. All those hackathons, all those initiatives, instead of just hoping that female candidate will turn out from nothing, what's the pre-training idea, project that can be done with more group to encourage them and to give them the tools then to participate to those hackathons and enjoy the journey.
Yeah. I think you're so right. And I think this is definitely such a, it is a long-term problem, and we are sort of on a mission solving that, but it is taking time and it will take effort of so many players. But one thing that I might add, understanding that you really want to stress the importance of this, right, in your innovation challenge. And I think this is definitely the first step. And one thing I think that the teams could do is what Alessandra showed a little bit on biases. So really educate yourself. And there are different courses called unconscious bias and different ways you could do that. But really educate yourself in trying to understand and spot your own biases. That would definitely, it won't resolve the problem of undiverse team in a way, but it will be the step in the right direction to design better solutions.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. The training and the ability to see what we have ignored for so many years, it will give us new lenses to look at ourselves, to improve ourselves, and to be able to communicate and collaborate with diverse people. And also, once an hackathon it's over, instead of waiting the next year hackathon, you could take the results, the people, and the opportunities and bring it back to the next generation to inspire them so they can see what it could be their future in a year, and they can take that time to prepare themselves to take part of that journey. So it's really not organizing only event, but bringing the result, the inspiration, the example back into the pool that will become the new candidate, and helping them to see that they could be the next candidates.
And it's a perfect transition for another question that we had in mind. You're talking about the next generation and education a lot. Is this the first, the main cause of the fact that today there are so many inequalities in artificial intelligence, or maybe larger in the IT sector, and there is such a gender gap? What are the causes, and why are there so many inequalities there in that specific sector?
Well, I can start. I think there's so many, so we can just start filing a list. But I would definitely say one of the very important ones is the role models. So younger girls, and it's proven, that if they don't see role models that look like them in the fields where they want to enter, this will, they might not go there. So they need the importance of creating and exposing those role models. Exactly what you just said, Alessandra, sort of sharing that back, right? This is so important. So this, I would say, is lack of role models in the past, and that could be that is one of the things we try to solve as well. Alessandra, you probably have some things to add.
No, I can't agree more. I say role model are critical. The only thing that I will add is the way that we have been thinking about role model could be changed. So I go back to high school girls, and they see me in this moment of my career, and they will say, I will never get there. As same that I'm looking at those people that are 20 years ahead of me, and I think I will never get there. So we need to make sure we create a structure of role model where I am the example to the closest to me. They just need to take one or two steps to become where I am. And then they become the role model for their 5 years younger female. And then we bring them down because they need to see that where they can be in 2 years. And if we create those 20 years gap, we become role model, which are unachievable. So I don't know how much we inspire them, but if we become role model very close to where they are, it says, okay, she was here 2 years ago, and now she's there. So let me talk to her. Maybe I'll figure this out, how to make those few steps ahead of me. And I think that's important. So taking into consideration the experience difference and the age difference between a role model, a mentor, and a mentee.
Definitely. And just to add on that a little bit, because when you ask sort of why, what's the cause of that? I mean, it is in a way, unfortunately, I still see as of yesterday, I think on my LinkedIn, some woman shared that someone told her in the beginning of her career that, girls cannot be as good at math as boys or, as guys. So there are a lot of cultural biases already, built into this. So I think both role models and just, I would also say that kind of is the first step of building that confidence to disregard those bullshit statements, for girls who want to go there. So I think this is all like different actions to tackle what have caused that. And there are a lot of causes on culture and society and so on.
Yeah. And last thing, I'd like to share an activity that I'm doing with women in AI in Ireland. We have called the Be Amazing program. So this program is, we organize event, we create this community, and as we do that, we meet younger female that are very inspiring. And then instead of talking about this core team of women that are leading the community, we talk about the member. We feature them with a simple story that resonates with their own generation on social media, that they can become better connected, more confident, and they can become the role model of the new generation.
Thanks a lot for your answers and your as well deep thoughts about this, as well as your practical advice and methods on this. I think we will take a lot from this. Our responsibility to showcase the results of the challenge, the need for diversity, and also the potential challenges that some of the participants could raise with AI. I don't know if you maybe have a last word, and then we'll leave the floor to Camille for the conclusion. Do you have maybe a last advice or a last word for this conference?
My advice would be don't don't be afraid to take hard problems. I have been part of a startup generator program once, and what we've noticed there is that we had approximately balance, of 30% women, 70% men, and most of them are technical on the technical side. What I've noticed is that in this little group of women, all of us, we wanted to solve some problem, like that has importance, that has impact on society, on people's lives, on sustainability. And this is really tough. And, it shouldn't be that women are trying to solve this. So we should, and this is sort of how can we really work together and try and solve those big ones. So I really wish you all good luck, and don't be afraid of a challenge, and feel free to reach out to us if you feel that we can support in any ways. And good luck. Looking forward to seeing the results.
Absolutely. I think you guys are doing something amazing, and Women in AI, it definitely shares some of the core principle and mission that you are undertaking. And I want to finish by quoting Margaret O'Brien when she said, there is a special place in hell for women who do not help other women. We have been used for years to align behind men and to create a network with men. We are very strong when we create women groups, women community, and helping each other has to be part of our mission.
Well, thank you a lot, Elena and Alessandra, for sharing your vision with us, from the gender data gap to sexist bias, from the place of women to the role we all have to play, and the role that you're already playing with a woman in AI. We really learned a lot, and we hope that all those who listen to us today, but also all the ones that will listen to it later, that will listen to the replay, will use your powerful insights to enhance their future reflections. And for myself, I will definitely try to join Women in AI if I could.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
Bye.
you are so welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.